Have you ever walked away from a conversation feeling like your energy was completely drained, as if an emotional vampire had just sucked the life out of you? Toxic people can often leave us feeling overwhelmed, frustrated, and even defeated. But what if I told you that you don't have to let their negativity dictate your emotional state? Imagine navigating through life with a shield of resilience and clarity, able to interact with these challenging individuals without losing your cool or your spirit. In today's video, we're exploring 13 clever ways to deal with toxic people through the timeless wisdom of Stoicism. This ancient philosophy teaches us to focus on what we can control and to maintain our inner peace, regardless of external chaos. Picture this. Instead of letting toxic individuals pull you into their drama, you rise above it, viewing their behavior as an opportunity for personal growth and understanding. Whether it's a demanding co-worker, a critical family member, or a friend who drains your energy, these Stoic strategies will empower you to reclaim your peace, set healthy boundaries, and even foster compassion where it seems impossible. But before we jump in, please support Sacred Serenity by giving this video a thumbs up, subscribing to the channel, and hitting the notification bell so you never miss an update. And if you resonate with the content, consider using the thanks button to help us continue creating meaningful videos. Ready to turn the tables on toxic dynamics and embrace your power? Let's dive in and uncover the transformative insights that will change the way you interact with the world around you. 1. Identifying and understanding the toxic threat. Toxicity, whether it comes from a person or an environment, is like a storm cloud that blocks out your inner sunshine. When we talk about toxic people, we're talking about those who consistently bring negativity, manipulation, and emotional chaos into your life. It's that person who drains your energy, always seems to stir up drama, or never respects your boundaries. They often thrive on criticism, always pointing out flaws rather than lifting you up. Toxic individuals manipulate situations to suit themselves, making you feel guilty, confused, or small in the process. You might also notice how they avoid taking responsibility for their actions or lack any real empathy. Instead of offering support, they may dismiss your feelings or needs, making everything about them. Being around this kind of energy can leave a deep impact on your mental and emotional health. Over time, the constant negativity can spike your anxiety, making you feel stressed even in situations where you should feel safe or calm. It's not just about arguments or obvious drama. Sometimes it's the subtle jabs, passive-aggressive remarks, or the way they disregard your feelings that really starts to wear you down. Slowly, you may start to doubt your self-worth, believing the criticism, or feeling like you're walking on eggshells to avoid conflict. Emotionally, it's exhausting. Navigating these toxic interactions can leave you feeling fatigued, mentally drained, and even isolated from others, because dealing with these people consumes so much energy. Worse still, this exposure to toxicity can begin to change the way you see the world. You might notice that you're becoming more pessimistic, quick to doubt others, or even struggle with trusting yourself. The weight of a toxic presence can distort your inner peace, and you might feel disconnected from the things that once made you happy. Recognizing these toxic traits is essential, because once you do, you can start protecting yourself and setting boundaries. Toxic environments and people do not have to control your emotional climate. Acknowledging the threat is the first step to taking back your power and surrounding yourself with the positivity you deserve. 2. Fortify your walls. Think of personal boundaries as the invisible walls that protect your emotional well-being, much like a castle's defenses guard against invaders. These boundaries aren't just about keeping people out. They're about ensuring that only positive, respectful interactions enter your life. Without solid boundaries, you leave yourself vulnerable to the emotional demands, negativity, and disrespect of others. This is why setting personal boundaries is essential. It's your way of telling the world how you expect to be treated, what you need to feel safe, and where your limits are. It's an act of self-respect, self-love, and empowerment. But why are boundaries so important? Without them, you risk losing control of your own life. Toxic people have a habit of pushing your limits, invading your space, and expecting more from you than you can comfortably give. This leaves you feeling drained, resentful, and even disrespected. Boundaries are not about creating distance just for the sake of it, but about protecting your energy and ensuring that you have the emotional space to thrive. When you allow people to repeatedly overstep your boundaries, it can chip away at your confidence and self-worth. Setting these limits is a powerful step toward reclaiming control over how others treat you and how you feel about yourself. Now, establishing these boundaries is where things can get tricky, especially if you're someone who's used to saying yes or avoiding conflict. The key here is to first get crystal clear about what your boundaries are. What are the things that make you feel uncomfortable, unappreciated, or even used? Is it someone always showing up unannounced, people expecting you to drop everything for them, or someone constantly pushing you into uncomfortable situations? These are signs that your boundaries need to be stronger. Once you know your limits, the next step is communicating them. It's all about being clear and direct. You don't need to be rude or defensive, but you also don't have to sugarcoat your needs. Let's say a friend constantly calls you for favors and it's starting to overwhelm you. It's perfectly fine to say, "I care about you, but I need more balance in my life. I won't be able to help out as much moving forward." This communicates your boundary without attacking the other person. Boundaries are not about punishing others, but about protecting your energy and peace. You can love and care for someone and still draw a line when their actions affect you negatively. Once your boundaries are set, the real challenge is maintaining them. It's easy to feel pressured to bend your rules, especially if someone is upset or insists they need you. But remember, your boundaries are only as strong as your ability to uphold them. Be consistent. If someone pushes, you don't have to give in just to keep the peace. A key technique here is to keep your responses calm and simple. You don't owe anyone long explanations. If you're asked to do something that crosses your boundary, a simple, "I'm not available for that," or "that doesn't work for me," is enough. Repeating yourself like a broken record is a powerful tool. The more consistently you reinforce your boundary, the more others will respect it. Recognizing when someone is crossing your boundaries is just as crucial. Often, boundary violations can be subtle, like someone asking for just one more favor when you've already said you're busy, or a colleague continuously venting to you about their personal problems, leaving you emotionally drained. These small actions can add up over time, slowly wearing you down. You might start to feel resentment, frustration, or even anxiety in the presence of certain people, which is a clear signal that your boundaries are being tested. Trust your feelings here. If something doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. It's okay to pause, evaluate the situation, and decide if your boundary needs to be restated or reinforced. Another thing to remember is that setting boundaries is not a one-time event. People may test your limits, especially if they're used to having more access to your time, energy, or emotions. Be prepared to remind them where your lines are. If you're consistent and firm, people will eventually learn to respect your space. But if they continue to push, it's a sign that they might not be as invested in your well-being as you are. This brings us to an important point. If someone repeatedly disrespects your boundaries, it may be necessary to limit or even cut ties with them. Your peace of mind is far more valuable than maintaining a relationship that drains you. Boundaries aren't just about keeping others in check. They're about giving yourself the freedom to live authentically. When you have strong, healthy boundaries, you're free to focus on what matters to you, without the weight of other people's demands and expectations. It's about creating space for your own needs, dreams, and well-being. Don't think of boundaries as walls that shut others out. Instead, see them as the lines that protect your garden, allowing the best parts of your life to flourish while keeping out the weeds. By fortifying your walls, you're not only safeguarding your peace, but also teaching others how to interact with you in a way that's respectful and supportive. Boundaries are an essential part of self-care, and you have every right to build them as tall and strong as you need. In the end, it's about creating a life where you feel empowered, respected, and in control of your own happiness. 3. Become uninteresting to the emotional barbarian picture. There's a person in your life who thrives on emotional chaos. They stir up drama, push your buttons, and feed off your reactions like an emotional barbarian. These individuals crave attention, control, and emotional power. But what if you could make yourself uninteresting to them? What if you became the calm in the storm they can't touch? This is the ultimate strategy to disengage from toxic interactions, removing their fuel and starving the emotional barbarian until they lose interest. The first strategy to becoming uninteresting to toxic people is disengagement. Toxic individuals are often fueled by your emotional reactions. They love the drama, the rise they can get out of you, and the chaos they create. But here's the secret: you don't have to play their game. When someone tries to push your buttons, your greatest power is not reacting. Stay calm, composed, and detached. If they start a fight, don't engage. If they criticize, don't defend. Responding with a neutral, disinterested attitude deflates their need for control. Imagine them throwing emotional punches that never land because you've simply walked out of the ring. Here's where things get really powerful: minimizing drama and emotional triggers. Toxic people often look for your emotional weak spots, the areas where they know they can trigger you. Maybe it's guilt, insecurity, or fear. The emotional barbarian knows exactly where to dig, hoping to stir up a reaction. But what if you became aware of these triggers and stopped letting them get to you? Instead of taking the bait, recognize when someone is trying to pull you into their storm and choose to remain calm. It's almost like putting up an invisible shield where their words or actions can't penetrate. You can calmly say, "I'm not engaging in this," or even better, walk away. Refusing to participate in the drama cuts off their supply of energy and leaves them without the chaos they crave. Another crucial step in becoming uninteresting to the emotional barbarian is shifting the focus onto your personal growth. Toxic people often latch onto those who are emotionally available for their drama. But when you invest in your own growth and healing, their allure starts to fade. Start building yourself up, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually, so that the chaos they bring becomes irrelevant to you. When you're focused on personal development, setting goals, practicing mindfulness, and nurturing your well-being, you become less susceptible to the negative energy that emotional barbarians bring into your life. When you prioritize personal growth, you begin to see toxic behavior for what it really is: a desperate attempt to control and manipulate. The more you invest in yourself, the more immune you become to their antics. Toxic people rely on you needing them or seeking their validation. But when you no longer care about their approval or their drama, they quickly lose interest. By working on yourself, you elevate your life to a higher level, one where their negativity simply doesn't matter. To sum it up, becoming uninteresting to the emotional barbarian is about reclaiming your power. Disengage from their attempts to control your emotions by staying calm and neutral. Minimize drama by recognizing your triggers and refusing to take the bait. Most importantly, focus on your personal growth and well-being so that you become immune to their toxic influence. When they can no longer feed off your reactions or draw you into their chaos, they'll move on, looking for someone else who will give them the emotional fuel they need. Meanwhile, you'll be living your life with peace, clarity, and strength, free from the hold of the emotional barbarian. The broken record technique. The broken record technique is one of the simplest yet most powerful ways to protect your boundaries, especially when dealing with people who just don't seem to get the message. Imagine you're listening to a record or a song on repeat, and it keeps playing the same line over and over again. That's exactly what you're going to do when someone challenges your boundaries. You calmly repeat the same message until it sinks in. By sticking to your message like a broken record, you show that you're serious, firm, and not easily swayed. The beauty of this technique is its simplicity. You don't get emotional, you don't argue, and you don't explain yourself endlessly. You just repeat your boundary calmly and confidently until the other person gets the point. Here's how it works. Let's say someone is trying to push you into doing something you've already said no to. Maybe a friend keeps asking you to cover for them at work, or a family member tries to guilt-trip you into helping with something you don't have time for. Instead of getting frustrated, defensive, or over-explaining yourself, you just calmly repeat your original statement. I'm not able to help with that. If they push again, I understand, but I'm not able to help with that. No matter what they throw at you, whether it's guilt, pressure, or emotional manipulation, you stay calm and keep repeating your boundary like a broken record. Over time, they'll realize they can't break you down, and they'll give up trying to push you around. Let's role-play a few examples so you can see the technique in action. Imagine you've got a friend who's trying to get you to lend them money, even though you've already said no. Here's how it might go. Friend, come on, you can spare a little bit of cash. I'll pay you back next week. You, I'm not comfortable lending money right now. Friend, you know I really need it. We're friends, aren't we? You, I understand, but I'm not comfortable lending money right now. Friend, but you've helped me before. What's the big deal? You, I hear you, but I'm not lending money right now. Notice how you're not being rude or defensive. You're simply repeating your boundary in a calm and steady way. Each time they try to push, you respond with the same message, not getting caught up in their arguments. Eventually, they'll realize they're not getting anywhere, and they'll back off. Here's another scenario. Let's say you've told a co-worker you can't take on extra tasks because your plate is full, but they keep asking for help. Co-worker, hey, could you take care of this project for me? It'll only take a few minutes. You, I can't take on any extra work right now. Co-worker, but it's really quick and I'm so behind. You're so good at this. You, I understand, but I can't take on any extra work right now. Co-worker, come on, it won't take long. I really need your help. You, like I said, I can't take on extra work right now. Again, you're staying cool, consistent, and firm. The more you repeat your boundary without getting emotional or drawn into their attempts to persuade you, the clearer it becomes that your no is not up for negotiation. So, what's the big benefit of this broken record technique? The main advantage is consistency. When people see that you're not backing down, they begin to respect your boundaries more. You don't give them room to argue or negotiate because you're not engaging in a debate. You're simply stating your needs over and over in a calm and respectful manner. This consistency builds respect and sends the message that you mean what you say. Over time, people will realize that when you set a boundary, it's not something they can break down with persistence or emotional manipulation. Another benefit is that the broken record technique keeps things simple and stress-free for you. You don't have to explain yourself endlessly, come up with excuses, or get dragged into a heated argument. You just repeat the same line, calmly and confidently, until the conversation ends. This gives you a sense of control and peace of mind, because you're not allowing someone else to dictate your emotional state or push you into doing something you don't want to do. You're in charge, and you're maintaining your boundary without feeling flustered or overwhelmed. By using this technique, you're sending a clear signal that you're serious about your boundaries, and that you won't be pushed around. It takes practice, but once you master the art of the broken record technique, you'll find it incredibly effective in dealing with toxic people, emotional manipulators, and anyone who tries to challenge your limits. So, the next time someone tests your boundaries, remember, stay calm, keep repeating your message, and become that broken record that never skips a beat. 5. Don't take the bait. Toxic people are like master fishermen. They know exactly what bait to use to reel you into their drama. They'll dangle manipulative tactics in front of you, hoping to spark a reaction, get under your skin, and pull you into a negative spiral. But here's the key to reclaiming your power. Don't take the bait. When you can spot manipulation for what it is and refuse to get emotionally hooked, you free yourself from their control and protect your peace. First, let's talk about the manipulation tactics that toxic individuals use to bait you. These can take many forms: guilt trips, gaslighting, playing the victim, or pushing your buttons with personal attacks. They know how to twist your words, make you doubt yourself, or say something just hurtful enough to trigger you into reacting. The moment you feel like you're being unfairly attacked, emotionally drained, or drawn into a conflict you didn't ask for, that's when you're being baited. Toxic people thrive on getting a rise out of you because your emotional reaction gives them power. They want to control the situation by controlling your emotions. So, what's the best way to deal with this? The secret is learning to stay grounded and avoid emotional reactions. When you feel that familiar tug, someone trying to pull you into an argument or make you feel guilty, take a deep breath and remind yourself that you don't have to engage. It's easier said than done, but it's all about creating a mental space where you pause before responding. Instead of reacting with anger, frustration, or defensiveness, you remain calm and composed. Think of it like this: the more emotionally neutral you are, the less they have to work with. Toxic people feed off emotional chaos, so when you stay calm, you starve their need for drama. One effective strategy is to use short, neutral responses when someone is trying to bait you. For example, if they make a snarky comment, instead of firing back or defending yourself, you can simply say, "I hear you," or "That's your opinion." These responses are non-confrontational and non-reactive, which throws toxic people off their game. You're not giving them the emotional reaction they were fishing for, and it leaves them without ammunition to continue the manipulation. Another powerful tactic is to maintain perspective during confrontations. When you're in the heat of the moment, it's easy to lose sight of the bigger picture and get caught up in the emotions of the situation. But remember this: toxic people thrive on making things seem bigger and more urgent than they actually are. They want you to react impulsively and emotionally. The next time someone tries to bait you into a confrontation, mentally step back and ask yourself, is this really worth my energy? Will this matter in the long run? 9 times out of 10, the drama they're trying to create is insignificant, and getting drawn into it won't serve you. By maintaining perspective, you can see the manipulation for what it really is: a ploy to control your emotions. Once you realize that, it becomes easier to disengage and protect your peace. You don't have to explain yourself, justify your actions, or get tangled in their web of manipulation. You can simply stay centered, respond calmly, and walk away from the situation without taking the bait. In the end, not taking the bait is about taking back your emotional control. Toxic individuals may try to lure you in with manipulative tactics, but you have the power to refuse. By staying grounded, avoiding emotional reactions, and keeping perspective, you can free yourself from the toxic game. The best part: when you don't take the bait, you protect your peace, and toxic people lose their grip on you. Stay calm, stay neutral, and keep your power. Don't let anyone pull you into a storm that isn't yours to weather. 6. The art of non-reaction is a powerful tool in maintaining your emotional peace and balance. It's about staying calm, composed, and unaffected in situations where others might be trying to provoke you or pull you into their chaos. At its core, non-reaction means refusing to let external negativity dictate your emotional state. It's about choosing how you respond, or rather choosing not to respond, when someone tries to push your buttons. In everyday life, you'll encounter people who will test your patience or try to stir up drama. Whether it's a snarky comment, a passive-aggressive jab, or even a full-blown argument, the ability to remain neutral and unshaken is a game-changer. Non-reaction is the decision to stay grounded, no matter how tense the situation may get. By not reacting emotionally, you deprive the other person of the power they're seeking over your emotions. You become like a rock in the middle of a storm, unmoved by the turbulent winds around you. To practice non-reaction, the first step is self-awareness. When you feel yourself getting triggered, whether by someone's words or actions, it's important to pause. This is where mindfulness comes into play. Instead of instantly reacting, take a breath and give yourself a moment to process. This brief pause allows you to regain control of your emotions before the situation escalates. It's in this moment that you can choose how to respond, or if responding at all is even necessary. One effective technique is to count slowly in your mind. When someone tries to provoke you, silently count to 5 before saying or doing anything. This small delay can prevent you from reacting impulsively or getting caught up in the heat of the moment. During those few seconds, your mind can clear, and you can decide whether responding would be worth your energy. Often, you'll find that it's not. Silence is another key part of non-reaction. When you remain silent in the face of negativity, you're sending a message that you are not going to be dragged into someone else's drama. Silence can be unnerving to those who are looking for a reaction. It forces the other person to sit with their own words without the fuel of your emotional response. Silence shows strength. It's a way of saying, "I'm not going to engage in this chaos." Over time, people who thrive on conflict will learn that you're not someone who can be easily rattled, and they'll back off. Sometimes, non-reaction means walking away. If a situation becomes too heated or toxic, simply removing yourself can be the best course of action. Walking away is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of self-preservation. It shows that you prioritize your peace over engaging in unnecessary conflict. When you walk away, you're taking control of the situation on your terms, refusing to be pulled into a fight that drains your energy. It's important to understand that non-reaction doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or ignoring problems. It's about choosing your battles wisely and deciding when a response is actually worth it. In many cases, reacting emotionally only escalates the situation and gives toxic people more power. By practicing non-reaction, you're protecting your emotional well-being and maintaining control over your internal state. Over time, mastering non-reaction builds emotional resilience. You'll find that as you become better at staying calm and neutral, situations that once triggered you no longer have the same power. You become unshaken by negativity, and people who once sought to manipulate or provoke you lose their influence. Non-reaction gives you a quiet kind of strength. It allows you to navigate tense situations with grace, dignity, and unshakable peace. Ultimately, the art of non-reaction is about protecting your energy and staying centered, no matter what's happening around you. It's a reminder that you have control over how you feel and respond, and that no one else can take that power away from you unless you let them. Through non-reaction, you stand strong in your peace, while the storm around you loses its grip. 7. Limiting your exposure to toxic people is like cutting off a negative energy source. The more time you spend with individuals who drain you emotionally, manipulate you, or bring negativity into your life, the harder it becomes to maintain your mental and emotional well-being. Reducing the time you spend around toxic people isn't just necessary, It's crucial for your peace of mind and personal growth. First, let's address the reality. You can't always avoid toxic people entirely. Sometimes they're family members, colleagues, or others you have to interact with regularly. While you might not be able to remove them from your life completely, you can control how much access they have to your time and energy. Limiting your exposure to toxic individuals helps create space for healing, clarity, and positive energy to flow into your life. To do this, start by being mindful of who you're spending your time with. Notice how you feel after being around certain people. If you consistently feel drained, anxious, or stressed after interacting with someone, that's a clear sign their energy is toxic to yours. Pay attention to patterns. If a person always brings drama, negativity, or manipulation into your conversations, it's time to take action. One of the most effective ways to create distance is by setting boundaries, both physical and emotional. If you're dealing with a toxic person in your workplace or social circle, begin by limiting the time you spend in their presence. This can be as simple as reducing unnecessary conversations, avoiding one-on-one situations, or not engaging in their drama when it arises. If you're in a social setting and someone starts steering the conversation toward negativity or gossip, politely excuse yourself or redirect the conversation. Small changes in how often and how deeply you interact with toxic people can make a huge difference in your emotional energy. Another practical step is minimizing emotional exposure. Even if you can't avoid someone physically, you can protect yourself emotionally. This means not letting their negativity seep into your personal space. Instead of reacting emotionally to their outbursts or getting involved in their problems, practice emotional detachment. Imagine an invisible shield around you that blocks their toxic energy from affecting you. You can still interact with them in necessary situations, but you maintain emotional distance by not internalizing their drama. When it comes to family or close relationships, this can be more challenging, but it's still possible. For example, if a toxic family member always tries to pull you into arguments or guilt trips, practice short, neutral interactions. Keep your responses polite but brief, and don't engage in topics that lead to conflict. You can also schedule time with them in a way that allows you to limit how long you're exposed to their negativity. Whether it's cutting down phone calls or choosing to see them only during larger family gatherings, you have the power to set boundaries that work for you. Now, here's the most important part. Prioritize healthy relationships. The less time and energy you invest in toxic people, the more space you create for positive, uplifting connections to flourish. Surround yourself with people who support you, who encourage your growth, and who bring light into your life. These are the relationships that will recharge your energy and nourish your spirit. When you invest in healthy, positive relationships, toxic influences naturally become less significant in your life. Ultimately, limiting your exposure to toxic people is about reclaiming your emotional freedom. It's about choosing to protect your peace, prioritize your mental health, and focus on the relationships that truly matter. While you can't always control who crosses your path, you can control how much space they take up in your life. By creating boundaries and investing in healthy connections, you can reduce the hold toxic individuals have over you, and you'll notice a dramatic shift in your overall well-being. 8. Building a strong support system is like creating a safety net for your emotional and mental well-being. It's about surrounding yourself with people who uplift you, encourage you, and help you navigate the ups and downs of life. A supportive network is essential for maintaining your resilience, especially when you're trying to distance yourself from toxic influences. So what exactly does a supportive network look like, and how can you cultivate one that truly benefits you? First, let's define what constitutes a supportive network. At its core, A supportive network includes friends, family, colleagues, mentors, or even community groups that foster a sense of belonging and understanding. These are the people who celebrate your successes, listen to your struggles without judgment, and provide advice when you need it. They reinforce your positive behaviors and encourage you to pursue your goals and dreams. A solid support system should be a source of strength, inspiration, and love. Now that you know what to look for in a supportive network, how do you go about nurturing and expanding it? Start by evaluating your current relationships. Reflect on the people in your life. Who lifts you up? Who makes you feel drained or unsupported? This assessment will help you identify who belongs in your support system and who might need to be distanced. Once you've identified your key supporters, it's time to invest in those relationships. This can be as simple as reaching out for a coffee date, sending a text to check in, or planning regular catch-ups. Nurturing these connections requires effort and intention, but it's worth it. Share your goals and aspirations with them, and don't hesitate to lean on them during challenging times. Open communication fosters deeper bonds and reinforces the idea that you're in this together. To expand your support system, consider exploring new avenues for connection. Join clubs, attend community events, or participate in workshops related to your interests or professional goals. This not only allows you to meet like-minded individuals, but also enhances your sense of community. Surrounding yourself with people who share your values and passions can lead to meaningful connections that support your growth. Another great way to build your support network is by embracing social media and online communities. Many groups and forums focus on specific interests, lifestyles, or personal growth. Engaging in these spaces can introduce you to new friends who offer encouragement and support, regardless of physical distance. The role of friends and family in reinforcing positive behaviors is significant. When you surround yourself with individuals who model healthy habits, it encourages you to adopt similar behaviors. Whether it's practicing self-care, pursuing hobbies, or engaging in personal development, the influence of supportive people can be incredibly motivating. Your friends and family can act as accountability partners, cheering you on when you take steps toward your goals and reminding you of your worth when self-doubt creeps in. In addition, having a strong support system acts as a buffer against negativity. When toxic influences threaten your peace, your network provides a safe space for you to vent, reflect, and regain your strength. They remind you of your value, helping you stay focused on your journey and reinforcing your decision to distance yourself from negativity. Ultimately, building and nurturing your support system is an ongoing process. It requires you to invest time and energy into your relationships while also being open to new connections. A solid support network enhances your emotional resilience and encourages you to embrace positive behaviors. So take the time to cultivate relationships that matter, and you'll create a powerful community that uplifts you through life's challenges and triumphs. 9. Prioritize self-care, your essential shield against toxicity. Self-care isn't just a trendy buzzword, it's a necessity, especially when you're surrounded by toxic environments, people, or situations that drain your energy. At its core, self-care is the deliberate practice of nurturing your well-being in all areas of life, mentally, physically, and emotionally. It's about taking time for yourself, not just as an afterthought, but as a priority, ensuring that you're constantly recharging and refilling your own cup. The importance of self-care becomes even more crucial when dealing with toxicity. Toxic environments can leave you feeling emotionally exhausted, mentally drained, and even physically depleted. Without self-care, it's easy to spiral into stress, burnout, and a constant feeling of being overwhelmed. It's like trying to run on an empty fuel tank. Eventually, you'll break down. By prioritizing self-care, you create a buffer that allows you to manage stress, negativity, and toxicity more effectively. It's a protective layer that helps you maintain balance and resilience in the face of adversity. Let's talk about the different ways you can practice self-care. On a mental level, self-care might involve setting healthy boundaries. This could mean learning to say no when you need to, protecting your time and energy from people or tasks that don't serve your well-being, or simply allowing yourself a break. Taking time to step away from a toxic situation, even if just for a moment of clarity, can make all the difference. Meditation, deep breathing exercises, or even just spending a few minutes in nature can help calm your mind and bring you back to a state of peace. Mentally, self-care is about giving your brain the space it needs to recharge and function optimally. On an emotional level, self-care is all about honoring your feelings and giving yourself permission to feel without judgment. This might involve journaling your emotions to get them out of your head and onto paper, helping you process and release what's weighing on you. Surrounding yourself with people who support and uplift you is another form of emotional self-care. It's about knowing who fills your emotional cup and who drains it, and choosing wisely who you spend your time with. Self-care emotionally means being kind to yourself, practicing self-compassion, and recognizing that you deserve to feel good. When it comes to physical self-care, it can be as simple as getting enough sleep, eating nourishing foods, and moving your body. Physical health plays a massive role in how we feel mentally and emotionally, so paying attention to the basics like hydration, rest, and regular exercise can have a ripple effect on every other part of your life. When your body feels strong, rested, and energized, you're better equipped to handle the mental and emotional stress that can come with toxic situations. One of the most powerful aspects of self-care is making it a regular habit. It's not just something you do when you're on the verge of burnout. It's a daily practice that helps you stay balanced, grounded, and centered, no matter what life throws at you. Regularly checking in with yourself is key. Ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? What do I need at this moment? Where do I feel tension? And what can I do to release it? These questions are simple, but they can offer profound insight into what your mind, body, and soul are craving. Whether it's taking a few deep breaths, scheduling time for something you enjoy, or simply allowing yourself a moment of quiet reflection, self-care becomes a sacred practice of self-awareness. In a world that often demands so much from you, your time, your energy, your emotional bandwidth, self-care isn't a luxury, it's a necessity. By making self-care a priority, you're not only showing yourself love and compassion, but you're also ensuring that you can navigate life's challenges with strength, resilience, and grace. Toxicity loses its power over you when you're well cared for, because you're no longer reacting from a place of depletion, but from a place of strength. Remember, taking care of yourself is the foundation for everything else in your life. When you show up for yourself first, you're able to show up more fully for others. You become more resilient to negativity, more balanced in your emotions, and more capable of maintaining your peace and joy, no matter the circumstances around you. Self-care is your superpower. Use it often. 10. Remember, it's not about you. Protecting your peace from toxicity. When you're dealing with toxic individuals, it's easy to get caught up in their negativity and start believing their behavior is a reflection of you. But here's the truth. It's not about you. Toxic people are often stuck in their own unresolved issues, insecurities, and emotional baggage, and they project that onto others. Understanding this can help you step back and see their behavior for what it really is, more about them than it is about you. Toxic individuals often operate from a place of fear, pain, or insecurity. They may lash out, manipulate, or belittle others as a way to feel more in control or to mask their own struggles. It's important to recognize that their behavior stems from their inner turmoil, not from anything you've done. This mindset shift is crucial because when you realize it's not personal, You can stop internalizing their actions and words. You no longer feel responsible for their outbursts or their negativity. And that's incredibly liberating. Shifting your perspective is key to protecting your own peace. Instead of personalizing their behavior, think of it as a reflection of their internal state. Imagine someone carrying a heavy emotional burden. It's weighing them down, and they haven't figured out how to carry it. Instead of lightening their load, they dump parts of it onto others in the form of toxic behavior. Once you see their actions as part of their own struggles, it becomes easier to distance yourself emotionally and not let their negativity take root in your mind. Maintaining your self-worth in the face of toxic behavior can be challenging, but it's possible with the right strategies. First, set clear boundaries. Toxic individuals will push, pull, and test your limits, but it's up to you to stand firm. Know what you will and won't tolerate, and communicate that clearly. Whether it's limiting your interactions with them or cutting them off when they cross a line, boundaries are essential for preserving your mental and emotional well-being. Next, remind yourself daily of your value. Engage in positive self-talk, affirmations, and activities that reinforce your worth. Surround yourself with people who lift you up and remind you of who you truly are. Toxic individuals can make you doubt yourself, but when you consistently affirm your strengths and qualities, their words lose power over you. It's like building a shield of self-worth that deflects their attempts to tear you down. Another powerful strategy is practicing detachment. Detachment doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you stop over-investing in how toxic people perceive you or how they behave toward you. Their reactions, their negativity, their attempts to pull you into their drama, it's all part of their personal storm, and you don't have to get caught in it. Detaching emotionally allows you to maintain your peace without being dragged into the whirlwind of their issues. Lastly, focus on self-compassion. Dealing with toxic people can be exhausting and draining, so be gentle with yourself. Know that you're doing the best you can in a tough situation, and give yourself the space to recover emotionally. Whether it's through mindfulness, journaling, or simply taking time to do things that bring you joy, nurturing yourself will help you stay grounded and resilient. Remember, toxic people's behavior is a reflection of them, not you. When you shift your mindset, protect your self-worth, and create boundaries, you empower yourself to rise above their negativity. You can choose peace over chaos, self-love over doubt, and freedom over being dragged down by their issues. Toxicity thrives on reaction, but when you no longer give it power, it loses its grip on your life. 11th, don't try to fix them. It's natural to want to help people we care about, especially when we see them struggling with toxic behavior. You may feel like if you can just give them enough love, understanding, or support, they'll change. But one of the hardest lessons to learn is that you cannot fix someone who doesn't want to change. Recognizing this is not only important for your emotional well-being, but it also frees you from taking on an impossible burden. Toxic individuals often have deeply rooted issues, whether they stem from childhood trauma, unresolved emotional wounds, or patterns of negativity they've picked up over time. These are not things you can simply fix with a conversation, a gesture, or even prolonged efforts to help. Toxicity runs deep, and many people who exhibit toxic behaviors aren't even aware of how much harm they're causing. Or if they are aware, they may not be ready to confront it. This is why it's essential to recognize your limits when it comes to helping others. When you try to fix someone, especially someone with toxic tendencies, you're engaging in an exhausting and often thankless task. Toxic individuals may resist your efforts not because they're beyond help, but because they're not ready to accept it. In fact, your attempts to help can sometimes make the situation worse, causing them to become defensive or lash out. They might see your desire to fix them as an attack on who they are, which only reinforces their toxic patterns. More importantly, attempting to fix someone can backfire on you. It's emotionally draining to pour your energy into someone who isn't reciprocating or making an effort to change. You may find yourself feeling frustrated, burned out, and questioning your own worth. It's important to remember that you're not responsible for someone else's healing journey. No matter how much you care about them or how much you want to see them improve, it's up to them to make the necessary changes in their life. You can't do it for them. This is where understanding your limits becomes crucial. There's a fine line between being supportive and taking on someone else's emotional baggage. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that if you just try harder or give more, they'll finally see the light. But in reality, toxic people often use others' kindness and willingness to help as a way to maintain their toxic behavior. They may rely on you to shoulder their burdens, all while making no real effort to change. And while you're busy trying to fix them, you might be neglecting your own needs and well-being. The futility of trying to fix toxic individuals lies in the fact that change has to come from within. No one can force someone to heal or confront their toxic tendencies unless they're ready to do so. This is especially true for toxic people who thrive on control, manipulation, or a sense of superiority. They may resist change because it means losing the power they feel they have over others, or because it forces them to confront painful truths about themselves. In these cases, your attempts to help can feel threatening to them, leading to more conflict or pushing them further into their toxic behavior. Additionally, trying to fix someone can create an unhealthy dynamic where you're constantly giving and they're constantly taking. This imbalance can harm your emotional health as you begin to feel drained, resentful, or even guilty when your efforts don't yield results. It can also lead to codependency, where your sense of self-worth becomes tied to their behavior. If they don't change, you may start to believe it's because you didn't do enough, when in reality, their lack of growth has nothing to do with you. Instead of trying to fix them, focus on your own healing and personal growth. This shift in focus is empowering because it brings the responsibility for your happiness and well-being back into your own hands. You can't control how others behave, but you can control how you respond to them. When you stop trying to change someone else, you give yourself permission to protect your peace and invest your energy in your own journey. This doesn't mean you stop caring about them. It means you recognize that their healing is their responsibility, not yours. Start by setting boundaries. Toxic people often push past others' limits because they aren't concerned with how their behavior affects those around them. By establishing clear boundaries, you protect yourself from getting sucked into their toxicity. Boundaries might look like limiting your time with them, refusing to engage in their drama, or walking away when their behavior becomes harmful. Boundaries are not just about protecting yourself from others. They're about reinforcing your self-worth and ensuring that your needs are respected. Additionally, shift your energy towards self-healing and personal growth. This might involve seeking out therapy, practicing self-care, or surrounding yourself with positive, uplifting people who support your growth. By focusing on your own healing, you become stronger, more resilient, and less affected by the toxicity around you. Toxic people often drain those around them because they know how to manipulate others into focusing on their needs instead of their own. By reclaiming your focus, you take back your power and stop feeding into their negative cycle. One of the best things you can do for a toxic person is to lead by example. When they see you focusing on your own healing and thriving despite their behavior, it can sometimes spark a realization in them. However, even if they never change, you'll be in a better place because you've taken control of your own happiness. And if they do choose to change, they'll have to do it on their own terms, in their own time. Not because you tried to fix them. Ultimately, trying to fix a toxic person is a losing game. The only person you can truly change is yourself. By shifting your focus from fixing them to healing yourself, you free yourself from the emotional roller coaster of their behavior and empower yourself to live a life that is peaceful, balanced, and full of growth. Toxic people will either rise to meet you at your level of healing, or they will fall away. But either way, you're choosing your well-being first. 12. When to walk away, knowing when it's time to let go. There comes a point in dealing with toxic individuals where you have to make a tough choice. Stay and endure the damage, or walk away for the sake of your own well-being. It's never easy to walk away from someone, especially if you care about them deeply. But staying in a toxic situation can drain you emotionally, mentally, and even physically. So, how do you know when it's time to walk away? The first sign is when your boundaries are constantly being crossed. In any healthy relationship, whether it's with a friend, partner, or family member, there's a mutual understanding of respect. Toxic people tend to disregard your boundaries, pushing you past your limits again and again. Maybe they ignore your feelings, manipulate situations, or make you feel guilty for expressing your needs. If you notice a pattern where your boundaries are continuously violated, it's a clear signal that the relationship is no longer healthy and it may be time to leave. Another sign to look for is if you feel emotionally drained after every interaction. Toxic individuals have a way of pulling the energy out of you. After spending time with them, you might feel exhausted, anxious, or even depressed. This is a huge red flag. Relationships should uplift and energize you, not leave you feeling worse than before. If you're constantly feeling like you're walking on eggshells, or you're emotionally exhausted from trying to manage the toxicity, walking away might be the healthiest choice. Pay attention to the impact the relationship is having on your self-worth. Toxic people often use manipulation, guilt-tripping, or criticism to control others. Over time, their words and actions can start to affect how you see yourself. You may begin to question your worth or feel like you're never good enough. If a relationship is making you feel small, unimportant, or unworthy, that's a strong indicator that it's time to step away. One of the most obvious signs is when the toxic individual refuses to take responsibility for their actions. Healthy relationships involve accountability and a willingness to admit when you're wrong. In contrast, toxic people tend to blame others for their problems, never acknowledging their part in the conflict. If you've tried to communicate your concerns and they continue to deflect responsibility or make excuses, it may be time to consider walking away. Walking away can feel heavy. There's an emotional weight that comes with leaving, especially if it's someone you've invested a lot of time and energy into. You may feel guilty for leaving, wondering if you could have done more to make it work. But the truth is, staying in a toxic relationship comes with an even greater emotional cost. The longer you stay, the more you risk losing yourself, your happiness, your mental health, and your peace of mind. It's important to remember that walking away is not a sign of weakness. It's an act of self-preservation. It takes strength and courage to recognize when a relationship is no longer serving you and to choose to put yourself first. While it may feel painful in the short term, walking away from toxicity opens the door to healing and reclaiming your sense of peace and joy. When you decide it's time to walk away, the first practical step is to set clear boundaries for yourself. Whether that means cutting off all contact or gradually distancing yourself, decide what will work best for your situation. It's important to be firm in your decision, as toxic people will often try to pull you back in through manipulation or guilt. Next, surround yourself with a support system. Walking away from a toxic relationship can be incredibly isolating, especially if that person was a big part of your life. Lean on friends, family, or a therapist to help you through the transition. Having people who uplift you and remind you of your worth can make the process of leaving much easier. Consider detoxifying your environment as well. Sometimes, toxicity isn't just limited to one person. It can affect your entire environment. Clear out anything that reminds you of the toxic relationship, whether it's physical objects, social media connections, or emotional triggers. The goal is to create a space that feels safe and supportive for your healing process. Lastly, give yourself permission to heal and move on. Leaving a toxic relationship isn't just about physically walking away. It's about emotionally detaching as well. Allow yourself the time and space to grieve, process your feelings, and rebuild your sense of self. Walking away from toxicity isn't just an ending. It's the beginning of a new chapter in your life, one where you prioritize your well-being and surround yourself with positivity. The decision to walk away is rarely easy, but it's often necessary for your long-term happiness. Toxic relationships weigh you down, keeping you from living your best life. By walking away, you're choosing to free yourself from that weight. And in doing so, you open the door to a brighter, healthier, and more fulfilling future. 13. Forgive yourself. Letting go and moving forward. One of the most important steps in healing from a toxic relationship is learning to forgive yourself. We often focus so much on forgiving others that we forget about the emotional weight we carry from blaming ourselves. You might feel like you should have seen the red flags sooner, or you might regret staying in a harmful situation for too long. But holding on to guilt and shame only prolongs the pain. Self-forgiveness is key to breaking free from that cycle and allowing yourself to move forward. The truth is, everyone makes mistakes. Toxic relationships can cloud your judgment, and it's easy to get caught in a pattern of blaming yourself for the way things played out. Maybe you think, I should have known better, or why didn't I leave sooner? But understand this, you did the best you could with the knowledge and awareness you had at the time. Healing begins when you stop punishing yourself for what happened and instead show yourself the same compassion you would offer to a friend going through something similar. Self-forgiveness isn't about excusing poor decisions or pretending like everything was okay. It's about acknowledging your mistakes, learning from them, and then letting go of the negative emotions tied to them. It's about recognizing that your past actions don't define you. They're part of your journey. The longer you hold on to guilt or shame, the longer you stay stuck in that painful chapter of your life. Forgiving yourself is like closing the book on that chapter and choosing to start fresh with a new perspective. So how do you actually let go of guilt and shame? First, acknowledge your feelings. It's tempting to push down or ignore the guilt, but healing starts with honesty. Be real with yourself about the emotions you're carrying. Maybe you feel like you allowed someone to mistreat you, or you're embarrassed about staying in a toxic relationship. Instead of avoiding those feelings, confront them head-on. Write them down. Say them out loud, whatever helps you express what's going on inside. Once you've acknowledged those emotions, the next step is to reframe your perspective. Understand that toxic relationships often involve manipulation and emotional control. Toxic individuals can make you feel responsible for things that were never your fault. They're masters at shifting blame, leaving you to question yourself. But here's the thing. You are not responsible for their actions. You did not cause their toxic behavior, and staying too long doesn't make you weak. It makes you human. By reframing your experiences in this light, you can begin to let go of unnecessary guilt. A helpful technique for releasing guilt and shame is practicing self-compassion. This involves treating yourself with the same kindness and understanding that you would give to someone else in your situation. Imagine your best friend confided in you about their own toxic relationship. What would you say to them? You'd probably offer comfort, remind them that they did their best, and encourage them to focus on healing. Now, take those same words and apply them to yourself. Give yourself permission to feel hurt, to grieve, and most importantly, to forgive. Another powerful way to let go of guilt is by learning from your experience. Every situation, no matter how painful, has something to teach us. Instead of dwelling on what went wrong, shift your focus to what you can take away from the relationship. What did you learn about yourself? What boundaries will you set in future relationships? What red flags will you be more aware of? When you extract the lessons from your experience, you transform guilt into growth, and growth is something you can be proud of. It's also essential to remember that healing takes time. Forgiving yourself isn't something that happens overnight. It's a process that requires patience and self-love. There may be days when the guilt creeps back in, or when you're tempted to beat yourself up over the past. On those days, remind yourself that healing is not linear. You're allowed to have setbacks, and you're allowed to feel emotions. What matters is that you're committed to moving forward and letting go, little by little. Finally, focus on the future, not the past. Once you've forgiven yourself, it's time to look ahead with positivity and hope. The experiences you've gone through don't have to define you. Instead, they can refine you. Use the strength you've gained from overcoming toxicity to build a healthier, more fulfilling future. Surround yourself with positive relationships, invest in your personal growth, and embrace the fact that you deserve peace and happiness. Walking away from a toxic relationship is an act of self-love, and so is forgiving yourself for everything that happened during it. Forgiving yourself is a crucial part of the healing journey. It allows you to release the weight of guilt and shame and opens the door to a brighter, healthier future. You've been through a lot, and you deserve to move forward without the baggage of the past holding you down. Embrace self-compassion, learn from your experiences, and remember that you are worthy of healing and happiness. Thank you for joining me today on this journey to healing and self-discovery. If you found value in this video, please give it a thumbs up and share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear about your own experiences with forgiveness and how you've moved forward. Don't forget to subscribe to Sacred Serenity for more empowering content, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. If you feel inspired to support the channel, consider using the thanks button. It really helps me continue creating this content for you. Remember, your healing journey is important, and you deserve all the love and light in the world.